All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'm here with Easton Patton. Easton, thanks for joining us in Austin. Appreciate you being here, man.
Dude, I'm super pumped to be here. This is it's like my favorite pod room right now.
Yeah, I like it too. With the murals are good, right? I think it's pretty unique. Now we're moving to a different office right now. It's kind of a bummer. We blew out of this one in like a year, and we had the murals done, and you definitely can't take them with you. So
Yeah.
kind of a bummer, but I do like it for sure.
Well, at least they can come back and probably do a second round at the new place.
Yeah. Or I'll just keep both offices, just keep this one for the podcast room and then go back and forth as needed.
You might need it, dude. I mean, you guys blew out of this thing quick. It's a good problem.
Yeah. So you guys just opened up a 10,000 square foot office in Denver, right? 10,000 square feet and have 50 people in there.
Yep.
What in our Denver office before that was like 4,000 square feet. And there was probably a year and a half ago, maybe 15, 20 people in there on a regular basis. And then now you guys have 60, 70 people in your bigger one. What do you think happened over the last year to have that kind of growth to where you guys needed that big of an office?
Dude, so some of it is just getting really lucky with like the people that you work with. Yeah. And we've probably talked about this quite a few times where like you never know when somebody is going to like basically like when it's their time. And so I've had just like really good relationships with a bunch of dudes that we work locally with. Mm-hmm. And dude, Ty this year, Ty Cook, he was just like, hey, I'm going to like out of nowhere, I'm going to make, he's always a really good producer and a phenomenal trainer. Yeah. And then he just was like, hey, I got this marketing company going. I'm figuring out how to like run leads and we're going to start doing like really high level recruiting every single day. We're going to pack this thing out and then we need to start looking for a new office. This was like a year ago almost. Mm-hmm. And I was like, sweet dude, I'm totally in. And then he just started pouring people in. And then we kind of just got everybody on the same page. Of like, hey, you know, goals, mission, what we would like to do. Do you guys want in on some of that? Like, what do you want to do with the business? Do you want to have a big thing, you know, over the next handful of years? Like, what is your goals? Yeah. And we just started like, it felt like kind of lucky. You just find some really good people that have huge vision. And then they match that with like, they work every day. And so like Ty kind of kicked this whole thing off where he brought in a handful of dudes and just spent an obnoxious amount of time like train, develop, showing them the business, teaching them how to sell. And then they were like, hey, I know 5 guys, 10 guys, 25 dudes and girls. And they just brought them all in and it just turned into like this machine over like a 6 to 9 month window. Yeah. So thankfully for me, dude, I feel like I need to kind of like aim that to the guy that did the majority. But even like the Brian Boatmans, Jesse's, Chris, Ty, dude, they just like made a decision to be elite producers and then start like talking about what they were doing more, which I'm sure you remember early was like weird for us to like share the social media stuff.
None of us wanted to share early on. We just wanted to kind of be like secret agents and recruit people if they like somehow found out what we were doing, but we didn't want to be sharing every day on social media. Now everyone shares every day on social media shamelessly, you know? Yeah. Which is cool because it took us a long time to kind of make that the standard and the norm, not like the outlier. I think, so we have offices now. We have Denver office. We have office in Austin. Mahmoud just opened one in Kentucky. There's one in Philadelphia. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few other ones too that we have. But I think a big part of the culture now has been like getting people back in offices to like work and dial together and train together and do team events together. Like we do a lock-in every month in Austin. You guys have 50 people in your office in Denver all the time. How important do you think it's been now that we're like doing sales virtually to have people working together in the office, like you guys in Denver do training every Monday or every day at 1 p.m. right? Yeah. Like how crucial has that been to the growth that you guys have had this year? Do you think?
I think it's like a literal cheat code because and this is what I told everybody from day one. Like had, you know, again some of that like luck, timing, who you happen to unintentionally bump into. But having the office when you move back and we had a place to go, dude, it's like a handful of us. Yeah. But just having it was an hour and change drive and being able to go into an office and get like, hey, you sell a lot, this guy sells a lot, this guy's building too. Yeah. And just be in that environment, it quite literally saved my career in the business and like allowed me to learn faster because I could just go to it and get the help. Right. So I've been a big office dude day one and feel like it's really, really important. And now, dude, it's like being able to take 50 people into a home and show them how to sell, but you're all in the same place. Like it's really hard to compete with the groups that are doing that if you're not doing that at the same time. Not that it's not doable if if you're working all virtual, but dude, you can't play the game at the same level. Like, dude, we could never keep up with the Austin office. We could never keep up with Mahmoud and Ronnie if we were only all working out of our kitchens.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be hard. So I think the culture can move faster. You can get more high level people going much faster, and then they can bring big groups of people in because you already have the whole training system structured, and then it gets really fun for everybody, dude. So it is like a non-negotiable game changer for like what it's done just for us locally in the last year. It's huge.
I totally agree. I think like there was a big push to do work from home, and then there was, we pitched for a while that this was a like true work from home, work from wherever opportunity. But I think just being around other people doing the same thing, and even like there's a bunch of guys that live in a couple houses in Austin that all like live and breathe and do insurance all day long together. And they're like, dude, it just made a big difference for us just being around other people who are doing exactly what we're doing all day long. And you're thinking the same way, you're doing things the same way, you have the correct influences in your life. It makes a huge difference, right? Rather than like you sitting at home on your kitchen table, like you said, all day long. It's when you're doing that, it's kind of hard to stay motivated. But when you're sitting across from someone else who just got told no, and then someone else who just got a sale, it makes you feel a lot better, right?
Oh yeah, and so even if I think back to like my initial game plan when I got started in the business was I wanted to learn how to sell so that I could make what I wanted to make and be left alone and do my thing.
Yeah.
So now it's even good for those that want to just stay like, dude, I just want to learn how to be really good at the job and then stay solo. They can literally come into the office and become really elite level salespeople. And then once they have skill set and they understand like, time leads, all that stuff, if they want to go home and sell, 20, 30, 40 a month and like do their own thing, they can still plug into the platform, learn how to do it, and then go operate on their own exactly how they want.
Yeah.
So they don't, it just provides where if you want to do either, like now we got like a legit multiple locations where you can get around a bunch of good people and blow up however you want from producing or like scaling stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I totally agree. So I want to talk about profitability, but I also want to talk before that about, we were at dinner the other night and you were telling Deb about your upbringing and how which I'd like you to share. It was funny because she didn't believe you about it. But I was thinking about this when we were at dinner, and I was like, I wonder, did you think like growing up, like you were going to do something and make a lot of money in the future? Or what was your goal as you were like middle school, high school, college? Like, what did you want to do with your life? And did you think it was going to go in a way where you were going to make as much money as you're making now?
No, dude. So, and I feel like I was pretty lucky because I had two all-in parents. Mm-hmm. Like we never wanted or needed anything. Like we were always provided for.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that it was, weird that like I hadn't been to Europe on a 2-week vacation growing up.
Right.
I was like, I didn't realize like that was something that I was missing. So not having it's like not like I never thought about it. Like I didn't travel. We like my vacations were like you go to wrestling camp and then you go to grandpa's to like work for a few weeks in the summer or something.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we did. So we did like we had like a mobile style home in Park City, and then my parents built an addition on. And then we had this like summer where we're in between houses that we ripped in a trailer house for a summer, and then went into whatever our like size of houses that I graduated from. All nice stuff to me.
Yeah.
It was great. I feel like we got super lucky because I never didn't know how to eat stuff growing up. Like my parents are great, dude. My dad worked like literally all the time, and then
it made Deb seem super privileged that she didn't believe you live in a trailer park.
Which it was it was a small stint at the time, but
yeah.
I think it was like mind blowing, probably for her to know that.
She saw how professional you are now and didn't believe it.
Which I've came a long way since I was also 11, so it makes sense. But yeah, dude, when I was like going to school, I basically hated school. I didn't really know what I was going to do. And then when I got to college, it was like the staple jobs. Like I went pre-poli sci or whatever it is, basically like pre-law. I was like, I'm going to be an attorney. Mm-hmm. And then went to like 2 of those classes. I was like, maybe not an attorney. What else could I do? And then I found like criminal justice style, job. I met a guy who was a federal interrogator. I was like, dude, this would be a sick job. Become a federal interrogator, be a polygraph specialist, learn how to keep bad people in or get them out, whatever. But like the cap on that job was like 100, 150 grand a year. And I was like, dude, I cannot even imagine like making that kind of money. So like that's my dream job. If I get to arrest people and interrogate them, make sure that if they're bad, they stay. Like that's pretty sick. And they pay you 150 grand. Seems like an exciting job.
Yeah, sounds good.
Some people want to kill you, which sucks.
Yeah.
But that was like the dream landed job. Like I didn't know that there's like attorneys making millions of dollars. I was just like 100 grand, anything above that. I basically can buy whatever I want,
Yeah.
you know, which is funny because now it's 100 grand is like, in this day and age, it's a lot different gig, you
Yeah.
know? So I never would have guessed that somebody who like struggled in school, you know, like didn't come from technically what some people would seem as like a huge financial family background. Like I don't have like really wealthy parents or anything. So I was like, dude, even when I started here, if I could make 100 grand a month selling and being left alone as an independent contractor, that was like a dream.
Yeah.
Much less getting into a place where we've got like a 7-figure business now. It's been pretty crazy, dude.
Yeah.
And pretty cool to be a part of. And maybe more so exciting is watching all the people that I've got to work with also get to like move in that direction and have some big changes.
Yeah, I remember that people always ask, they're like, hey, did you always think your business would be this big? I'm like, no, not at all. Like my initial goal with this business was to sell enough to save some money for medical school, right? Like my goals were never that. I want to make like 7 grand my first month. Like that'd be really cool. That's a big number. And I think it's okay to like build up to that point, you know, and it's hard to, when you start making good money, it's hard not to like want everyone else to want that, but you got to let people come to that on their own, you know, their own pace. From a profitability standpoint, it's funny because the business has changed so much. When we were new, like when I started in 2017, you started 2019, right? Beginning 2019.
Yeah.
I started end of 17. Like back then, we were talking about it earlier. There's people who are spending $500 to $1,000 a week on leads now and writing 30, 40 grand. It's like, man, we were spending $2 grand easily to write that much back then. And we were doing mailers, we were doing in-homes, we were flying places, we were renting cars. Like our profit margin was terrible. These guys are selling from the office, making that much. And so the profitability is so much higher. What are some of the things that you think you've learned about how to make your business more profitable, both from an agent standpoint, and I think some of it's just time and market, right? Like now it's a lot easier to sell virtually and there's a lot more lead types. But what have you done from an agent standpoint, an agency owner standpoint, to be more profitable with how you structure your business, leads, you know, all those sort of things that make it like the best opportunity in the world right now?
Yeah, and the old model was, it was great for what we were doing at the time because we were still, even though, you know, margins were thin with like flights and insanely expensive leads and then getting rentals and hotels and all that stuff, like you really did have to sell a crazy amount to have the kind of margins that you can sell as just like a solo producer from a virtual office.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so much different now. And before, if you look at like, hey, what's business liability and I can still get volume, where like you can basically build like a Twin Towers style of business where you've got just like the majority of your volume running through two like giant entities.
Yeah.
And like if you have 1 to 2 of those, then you're super stable. You know, you can have this like play for, you know, whatever supplemental bonuses companies offer.
Yeah.
And I just didn't understand what like a passive business overrideable income looked like because I didn't ask really.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like, hey, I heard one thing one time about like this is a safe way to build. So I was like, cool, I'll just like find 2 hammers and we'll just roll with those guys.
Yeah.
You know, and then you end up giving away more stuff that hurts you, you know, kind of like hurts your business profitability because you're just looking at end game only. Like I'm just looking for volume.
Yeah.
And now you can go, you know, how I kind of look at, if I could restructure a perfect business, I would basically bring, you know, like you're bringing people in, you want to find like 5 identifiable people that, hey, same mission, same dream. They want to work a lot. They know it's hard. They're in here for the long haul. They're willing to do all the same stuff that you're doing. And then they're actually doing it with you.
Right.
You know, so it's not like I would like to make $11 million this year and then I want to work 15 hours a week. It's like, I'll do whatever. And then they show up. So like having 5 people that you teach or that you can work with to bring in 15 to 25 guys, you know, you're basically showing them how to become what we call like a VP level agency manager. It's like, hey, I'm going to, you know, help you teach, train, develop. I'll be right there with you guys, get your groups to like, you know, 150, 200 grand. And then like, dude, at this point you're selling enough and you got a big enough team, like you're autonomous.
Yeah.
If you have like 5 of those groups, that's like your business liability protection, because like the big chunk of your volume of your team is going to run through like 5 core stable groups. And then you can take on 5, 10, 15 outside directs that like, hey, this is the guys that you're working with teaching how to sell, where the majority of like your business passive probably comes from, because like your leaders are going to be able to do their own thing and grow autonomously.
Right.
So then you've got like sturdiness and a big chunk of passive overrideable income. Like that's I feel like is the safest way to build, you know, and then you just keep, you know, going in width until, you know, time's over, I guess, until you die.
Yeah. And I think like that's what we learned the last like 3-4 years is like the overall issue paid number is okay, but like let's start really looking at like net profit. And for me, I always like the gross number. Like what's the gross number? And then what can we cut out expenses wise to get the net higher. But I've always been like big on let's grow that gross and then cut out inefficiencies along the way. But I think a lot of people get so infatuated with like their ranking on a leaderboard or, you know, where they are in the company. It's like, yeah, but how much money do you make? Like how much money does your organization make? Yeah. Because if you're number 6 on the leaderboard, but you make 200 grand a year, like what are we talking about? Right. Or whereas like you were talking about, you have guys on your team whose teams do 300 grand a month that gross 100 grand a month, you know, like, okay, well that's a lot better. You could gross 100 grand a month and do 300,000, or you could do 2 million and make a couple hundred grand a year. And you're like, yeah. I'd rather be the one that does 300 grand a month making, you know, 100 grand a month. Right. So I think it's important that people pay attention to like, what am I bringing in? Not from an issue paid standpoint, but what am I bringing in, you know, to my bank account? And then how much of it am I keeping, right? How good is my persistency? Where's the waste at? And we did that for sure in the beginning. Was like, hey, we tried to spend money on everything. And a lot of the stuff worked, I think, and it helped us grow. But there were certainly things we didn't need to be wasting money on that we tried over and over again. And I'm not mad that I tried the things we did. I think it taught us lessons to get where we are now. And it allowed us to, I think you and I trying all these kind of crazy things, different leads, marketing, you know, different staff people. We tried all this stuff out so that we can tell our guys what not to do now, right?
Yeah. And so I guess for you, because I think that's one of the things that we probably get asked the most is like, hey, I want to try like this marketing company. What do you think? And then like now it's like, hey, I can give you some feedback, but like, have I used them or not used them? If you want to guinea pig it, I'm just telling you, like, I didn't have a good experience with a similar style of business. So yeah, just be like prepared that it may or may not go well. What's like one thing that I guess you're like, hey, this was a good mistake and a learning lesson at the time, but something that you feel like you get asked, whether it's like staff or marketing, where have you been most able to like redirect people wasting a bunch of money experimenting with something where you're like, you can totally do that if you want, but like make sure that you be a little careful. Is there anything that like kind of stands out for you?
I think two things. So I think one is hiring staff that don't fit in with the rest of your staff. Cause I've done that a few times and I've kept people on too long when I knew I should have fired them. And then you just get busy and you're like, whatever, I'll deal with it later. And I had 2 different staff people that were like pretty cancerous that I like kept for probably 4 to 6 months too long. Cause I just didn't really feel like dealing with it. So I think one thing is like, you should hire slowly, but like fire fast. So if you have someone that's a pain, and that goes for agents or staff. Like if you have someone who's a big cancer in your group, I think we've learned, like I have a tendency to give people like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th chances because I think people can change. And if I had to go back and talk to myself like 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be like, dude, get rid of people like right when you see there being an issue. Because whenever the gut feeling, either from a staff perspective or from a manager or agent perspective, whenever I had that gut feeling that this person's going to be a problem, like they always were a problem later on. And I didn't listen to my gut because I was like, maybe they'll change, right? So that's one thing. And the second thing I think is getting tied into long-term sales contracts with anything, whether it's a recruiting service. I can't tell the amount of recruiting services or things we've tried that I think I'm still locked into contracts on from like 3 years ago. That were like, oh, like it's, you know, $2,000 a month, 24 grand a year. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal until you're still paying for it when it doesn't work, you know? So I think only going month to month on things. And then, but I think, you know, that's less big of a deal. I think everyone's recruiting service or lead service or marketing service, they all sound really good. And I think it's kind of being able to unpack what they actually do and see if it's something that you can do on your own. Because a lot of times if you can take stuff in-house, you'll do a lot better of a job because you can have one staff running that, as opposed to this company that's running the same service with 1 or 2 staff for like 15 people. So it'd be a lot more efficient if you can unpack it and do it yourself. But I think the first thing, dude, is and what I've learned the most is getting rid of people as quick as you can before they become a big cancer inside your group.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like a 50-50. The staff thing is super hard. And for a while, you know, like my wife worked directly with me for like 3 years. And they're like, oh, that's so amazing. Like I was also thinking about hiring my girlfriend. And I'm like, the biggest difference is like my wife was a high level, multiple promoted like sales individual and manager at a giant corporation. Yeah. Like she got promoted from location. So she's managed millions in inventory, managed 7 staff at a time directly underneath her she's in charge of. So I just happened to be married to this person, but like, dude, she was already doing all of this stuff for a corporation, like done P&Ls, done employee tracking. Yeah. So my biggest recommendation is don't ever hire friends and family because you like them, because what if it doesn't work, dude? And then you have to have this horrendous conversation with someone who's like really close to you or a family friend or something. I'm like, just avoid it.
Yeah.
Like don't, because it is not worth it, because you want to be nice and provide something for someone. Because like, what if it doesn't work out? It's brutal to have those conversations.
Yeah. And what if you have to yell at your wife or get mad? You can't have, it's hard to have a employer conversation with your wife, right? Because then you're sleeping on the couch. So
yeah.
Cool. All right, dude. Well, thanks for stopping in, dude. Appreciate everything you've done for the team, and we'll do another one soon.
Sweet. Thanks, dude.